Okay, this is OK here, and we are in the Discord party channel watching TheFinnisher up against Art of Deception. Game 1, he is black, just to see how this game has gone. It's an e4 game. Maybe I turn my sound just a little bit down. Feels loud. Okay, with this very interesting line where you allow bishop takes f7. Very interesting. And bishop takes f7 it is, so he's prepped for this. Hi there, Caspi wins. We're watching TheFinnisher on Lichess play ArtOfDeception in a Crazyhouse World Championship match. And I'm streaming it on Twitch as well. But the Caspi disappeared again. So this happened. He took the queen, discovered check, but it seems like the king's safe. Well, he wasn't so safe. He'd have had to run. If he ran here, there's a pawn here queening. So not so clear. But he didn't want to give away the knight. I mean, he could have easily blocked this check, I'd have thought, instead of taking the knight. But then he'd lose his knight here, so that doesn't make sense. He had to take it. And this one, he could have taken it. But yeah, I see why he didn't now, because then white gets a knight to drop and pick up his queen. And there's no direct attack, so very bravely running up with the king is the finisher. And maybe he's got enough. Okay, white wants a knight, and no real good squares for that knight. The question is how to attack in this position. Okay, knight takes bishop opens up f2. So could we have a drop on f2 and then knight g4? That's the question. Hi there, Savage Pirate, and hi there, Adet. Cool. We have got a drop on f2, and smart ArtOfDeception sidesteps it, but now bishop takes e3 probably leaves the king fairly safe, you would think. Could even pick this up. Yeah, there are no checks here. So okay, he doesn't pick this up because of this, picking up the queen. But that would be a bit of... He's threatening a mate himself. Okay, so ArtOfDeception loses game 1. He had a promising looking attack, but don't think there was anything there quite. I think losing the queen was too much. And the finisher managed to run up and stay safe. So we were seeing a kind of repetition of some of the lines we saw in ArtOfDeception's earlier match against variants only, allowing this bishop takes f7 sack, which I think is quite dangerous, but the finisher is showing that it is playable at the top level. And this line, so we got this. So what should black do? Queen d7 makes sense, queen d8 makes sense. And then what's this knight planning next? Because often the bishop wants to go here, and having said that, putting the queen on d7 is stopping a black's own bishop from developing. Black could just back off and develop. I didn't expect that, but okay. If ever the queen is hit, there's always this check. I don't know why, because the knight just comes back to a better square. I see why, because now this pawn falls. So what's the trick? Why doesn't this pawn just fall? There are 3 attackers and 4 defenders. Why didn't he just take it? Because of course his queen was hanging. And he didn't have the check we were hoping for because the knight is covering it. Yeah, so it looks like the finisher knew what he was doing, which is unsurprising. And at the end of all that, he's picked up a so here everything was quite finely balanced, but here with this move he's picking up a piece for a pawn, and he's got good bishops, and it looks like he's picking up. Is he picking up another piece? Takes. It looks like he's picking up another piece. Duvid with the brutal analysis. Rinse and repeat, finisher giving AOD a root canal. Okay, nice find though, actually, with rook d8. That's a really good find. Because you thought you were going to win one of those pieces, but if you try and block the file to protect the queen, then this pawn falls. So rook d8, no real. I can't see a good way. Well, bishop here. You can defend it. You can defend with the bishop. You can defend with the knight. Okay, but instead he goes for this, hoping that giving up the queen. So he's got a queen for two pieces effectively in this position. He's got 6 minors and no queen. But maybe he's hoping these two weak squares could. Ooh, and no blockers, interestingly. So king is likely to have to run up, and he has a knight in hand to check with. So, but what's the continuation? Probably knight here, just because you want to keep this bishop file open for a bishop drop here. So if the king did run here, you could have a knight drop here, and you only got one bishop. You could have a bishop drop here, and then rook takes bishop would be mate. So that's a kind of idea. So knight here, king might have to step up, but then the bishop would come here, king here, and that would surely be mate. Let's see, we have one more bishop. Bishop here would be mate. Yes, so this does look like mate if you just run. But if you don't run, you're losing a queen. Okay, if you run this way, this surely can't be much better. Okay, so I think I saw effectively mate in this line. Okay, so I mistook something. The knight is covering this square. Okay, my bad. Not quite so simple. Because you could go knight here then. Oh, no, see, I want a bishop here. So I'm... Okay, maybe bishop here, king takes, knight takes, pawn works. But the queen is still covering this square here, so it's a little bit annoying. But it's an idea. Knight takes pawn. Discovered check from this bishop here. Yeah, so I really feel there was a better way of doing things. With something like knight here, check takes here maybe. Oh, but this is going to if you're driving the king up. Okay, yeah, that's actually a nice find. Ooh, double check was better, surely. Oh no, double check was so much nicer because that forced the king up. And then yeah. But unfortunately now the queen is covering. So this is, well, it's winning at least your queen, I guess. So it's all over. Also, this is fun. Threatening a double check. Ooh, didn't see that one. Okay, but bishop here blocks. And AOD runs out of time in a completely lost position. Okay, really beautiful play from the finisher. Just completely dominating. At the moment it's looking like a 10-0 incoming. But actually ArtOfDeception's been quite impressive. He's held his own. But those are two powerful games. Duvid says that ArtOfDeception needs to score at least 1.5. I'm sure this is something to do with the standings. To stop. Okay, so this is creative. So here, so there's a trade of queens, hits the queen, comes here, sacks a pawn, and I guess the hope is to trap that queen at some point. So if simply takes the knight, and then the bishop will fall next. I mean, there are lots of problems with. It looks like black's dropping a lot of material, but clearly there's something. Okay, we can always ditch this bishop quickly. before taking back. Oh yeah, we could always ditch the bishop, and then we could take back, or we could, yeah, we probably want to take back to stop, you know, at b7 nonsense. So while he's thinking, just quickly to pulling up the that's not very helpful, but it's the finisher's on 56. Okay, so it's actually just cut off, isn't it? The finisher's on. Yeah, it's just cut off, and I don't want to change the layout. But the finisher is on, and I'm missing the action, which is terrible. 50.5, and GSVC is on 58. And so I guess to come fourth, which would be extra prize money, the finisher would have to score. What is it again? 7.5, something like that. 7.5 to equal, and probably more than 7.5, probably 8. So I think, yeah. So I think ArtOfDeception needs 2.5. Hi there, Abhijit. So how did this continue? Because I just dropped out a second. Takes castle. He didn't grab the knight, which would be the obvious thing to do. He did this, and black didn't even save the knight. So this is quite an interesting move, because if you take it, then you probably take the knight and put it on one of these 2 weak squares. So you know you can always take the knight, but there's no need to take the knight immediately. He's just like saving up taking it for when he needs it. Okay, still not saving his own knight though. So what's the concept? And maybe another idea was when he took back, something to do with opening up this. But again, AOD is giving up the queen, and I think that's too much. I think he's given up too much. He's only got a pawn and knight in hand. Suddenly, there's a slight regret now for black of having played h3, because that's just going to help. You know, it's just going to get taken, isn't it? And knight at h6 is a mate threat. Okay, but he does it in this order. I'm not seeing the threat. Okay, so now knight h6 is a mate threat. Okay. He could have, when the king was on g7, he could have taken directly with check, pawn block, and then taken the knight. I don't know, it just feels better. The king's on g7. Harder to defend. King back on g8. Black was able to defend. There's always rook takes knight, by the way. It's a free piece. Oh, sorry, it's white's move. Gosh. Oh yeah, because he defended. Yeah, rook takes knight was another interesting defense. It doesn't quite work, I guess. Knight here takes rook. So okay, he defends this way. So it makes sense. Takes. Notice this is a mate threat. Queen at d1 because the knight is pinned. So we've got a mate threat. Is knight at h6 anything? Ooh, knight at h6 looks a little bit scary actually. Oh my gosh. Yeah, knight at h6 was seriously scary in that position. So because if you go here, knight takes pawn, so you probably had to take it. But takes, maybe he didn't quite have enough. Because you need a pawn and a rook, and time is maybe not on your side. Knight at h6 now. Okay, so has to take it. Now there's a mate threat, but we could maybe have a mate of our own. Let's see. Do we or not? Either that or defend. White only has a queen in hand. So pawn at d2 also is an interesting way of defending. But with pawns and queens, yeah. Just this. Oh, that's a nice move. So it's just saying, I want queen here, And then what's the mate? I'm being slow, I'm not seeing the mate. Because black doesn't have pawns, so I don't see this mate. Queen here, king here. I mean, there must be a mate, but I just don't see it. Okay, because this is very unsatisfactory, not seeing what the mate was. Yeah, this is a live Crazyhouse World Championship match, indeed, and they're going to go into game 4. But I'm very dissatisfied with my calculation skills and not being able to understand what the threat was. So I'm going to quickly load up. So notice finisher grabbing the center, very solid, proper player, great one to copy. Notice that when the bishop fianchetto is along this diagonal, putting the queen on e2. This sort of setup is actually quite solid, just reinforcing this center. I just want to quickly, I know I shouldn't in the middle of a match, but okay, so in this position here, before this position here, so I was worried about knight at h6 here, but that's not the point I really want to check. And please engine work. Okay, but that wasn't the point that wasn't the key point. The key point was, yeah, so this position here, knight at h6, I was a little bit concerned about, but apparently you can take it and you're okay. So knight h6, g takes h6, knight h6, king f8, and you're getting out. Okay, so that was actually quite important. You had to go to f8. But now in this position here, if bishop takes pawn, there's an obvious mate, but I can't see it. So that's why I want to see it. Queen at d2, king here, knight at e3. This is what I was missing. Knight at g3 also. And whichever, if you take it like this, rook at f2 is checkmate. And actually knight at g3 even works because you've got two knights. So if you take it like this, knight at h2 is checkmate. So that's the very beautiful mate that I was missing. It was obvious that the finisher had something like this in mind, I just couldn't see it. So it's knight at e3 takes rook at f2, beautiful mate. So that was the threat, which is why at g7 was actually a solid defense because the bishop couldn't be distracted by g7. So in this game, okay, as I said, he takes the solid center, puts the queen on e2. Notice how this is just really reinforcing. Although the knight is pinned, he's reinforcing with these two. How does he defend now? He could do a counter pin maybe, but no, I think what he did is push, and that's sort of blocking up this bishop for the rest of the game, or for a long time at least. And now just quickly castles. He's happy to give up a pawn here for king safety. King safety is the most important. And of course you don't want to take that knight because that'll just open up this bishop and you'd have a huge attack on your king. So instead, counterattack on f6, which is a weak square in black's position. f6, h6. Now, really solid defending of f6, but that means black doesn't have a pawn to attack white with in future. So white can't be too displeased with this position. He's got very active bishops, and he's just going to smash in. He wants f6. This has nothing to do with h6. He wants f6, and it's Art of Deception to move. David said, "Isn't this bad? B takes c3, knight takes c3." Well, I think it's safe. It's a safe. You give up the pawn. Match score is 3-0. Oh, David already answered. So yeah, actually, so if as David says, if the finisher wins this convincingly, he comes second only to 12 Teen and Chicken Crossroad. He leaps ahead of GSVC, who was second in the 2018 CWC and is a very strong player. So that would be a fabulous result, placing third in the CWC, and money is given according to position. So okay, so he does indeed break through. H6, annoying move basically, because it's all about you want to distract and then put stuff on f6. Maybe even like just take the knight and yeah, what would you do? Maybe take this knight and then put a knight on f6 and take here, or other ideas. Yeah, so if takes here, takes this knight, and if he takes back, knight here, check, king here, and the king is like in a little sort of boxy position with this knight even being pinned. I can't see a complete continuation, but it looks rather unpleasant. So instead, ArtOfDeception played knight f5, which is a very common move to try and reinforce your dark squares, but this is really opening up this bishop. But okay, takes and here. So not even taking back. And this looks very risky because takes here is a mate threat. Takes there comes. What? What? Oh, it's not a mate threat. It's a win the queen threat and completely win the game threat. Okay, fair enough. I mean, this is just simple. Just pawn at e7. You're never casting. You're never getting away. And just I don't know. Even just queen at c, queen here next. Sure, you can take with the knight, but then I take back. Sure, you can take with the rook, but then I take back. And sure, you can get away, but I've picked up a knight and a rook, and I don't think you're getting away for long. Knight here, king here. Yeah, knight here would be... Yeah, so indeed, e7 comes. Very easy play from... I mean, if you just look from the beginning of this game, like, this is probably a resigner already. What did ArtOfDeception do wrong? He gives up the pawn, backs off. It's very simple play. Like, anyone can do this, right? But that's how to be a top player, just simple, good moves. So not resigning just yet. No, he's put a third defender on f8. So 3 strong defenders. So we're definitely not getting a queen, but we could get a lot of material if we want it. So one tempting idea would be to take the bishop and still just dump that queen on. And what do we win? We'll win a knight and a rook and okay. So he doesn't. No, this is okay. There must be a trick. The finisher is up to some tricks here. He must have calculated something. So he's hanging a full bishop, but he must be calculating something here, which I'm completely missing. Oh, that's bad. Now he's distracted. You go in. Yeah, he shouldn't have distracted. He doesn't go in. Oh, I thought that was queen at f8 was surely good there. It just feels like something's gone wrong. I mean, he can still do queen at f8, but... Knight here coming, maybe king. Oh, but maybe just double check. Yeah, double check. Mate. What? No. What? He missed the double check. I mean, come on. Double check mate. Okay. When you're winning completely, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I was just trying to let people know this match is happening. So we're going to see this line again. I really dislike this line for black, but the finisher is just good enough, basically. And basically the idea here is, this is very risky for beginners to play it, but like even if you go like king g8, imagine you go king g8, queen g3, knight at h6 is a mate threat. So, but usually the threats are going to be along the light squares. Okay, so Jasugi99 in the chat saying Finn on a mission today. The thing is, he's just a much more experienced Crazyhouse player. And ArtOfDeception plays. I mean, he's quite good on theory, but coming you up against the finisher who's even better at theory. So you're walking into your opponent's strength. And the ArtOfDeception sometimes runs into low time. So again, He's also, his weakness is also the finisher's weakness. So he's just, it's a bad matchup for him. Like in time pressure, like both the ArtOfDeception and the finisher struggle a little bit in time pressure, but the finisher is faster. Both the ArtOfDeception and the finisher are pretty good at their openings, but the finisher is better. So it's a hard matchup in that sense. How do you win a game? You have to get white and know the opening, and get your opponent out of their book. It's difficult. And Duvid's saying this is really between ArtOfDeception, not between ArtOfDeception and the Fin, between the Fin and GSVC. Sure. But I think I would still regard, I mean, okay, so the finisher might outscore GSVC. Might well do that, but I still, yeah, I still, yeah, I think I rank GSVC as a slightly better player than the finisher. But obviously the finisher is awesome. And actually, maybe it's not fair to say that, because GSVC comes back from playing chess and he's actually quite rusty. Whereas, so the GSVC, his level fluctuates more. So in that sense, if the finisher does overtake GSVC, that's well deserved, as in he's been more consistent. So to do that, he basically, yeah, he needs to keep it up, basically. And Duva says, I think ArtOfDeception had to go for at g6. Finn specializes in these material drain positions. Yeah, so he's very good at getting material advantage and holding it, but so he has, yes, and that he's got that by provoking the bishop takes f7 sack. He is a piece for pawn up. Oh, I see. So I see what David was saying. It's like the pawn has been spent in defense instead of in attack. He has a point, but it's difficult to see how to. So he's just slowly developing. He's trying to claim I'm a piece up, and so I'm better. I mean, it's dangerous, that kind of. Crazyhouse can fluctuate with one bad move. So okay, another piece on offer. Too good to be true. But actually, I don't think he'll take it, because it would give him the pawn for g6, and he doesn't take it. So actually, yeah, ArtOfDeception's doing okay this game in a way. I think he's played it quite well, because all his pieces are around his king. He has a solid setup, and then he goes and plays f3, and I'm scratching my head like, why? Maybe he was afraid of takes knight and drop in knight on f3 or something like this. But it creates dark square weaknesses around the king, which wasn't necessary, I don't think. Oh, I see why f3. f3 is quite cunning, actually. f3 is giving lateral coverage of g2 with the queen. So if ever knight takes g2, queen takes g2. Queen and the king together, very solid. Okay, so it's not at all a bad idea. He always had knight takes g2, but maybe he was afraid of getting attacked on light squares. So it's a defensive idea. f3. Okay, not. This is this is very positional stuff from both players. It looks like the Famitsu wants to evacuate his king to another part of the board because he's afraid of f3, f4, these open files. I don't know. The king is still. It's got a long way to go to evacuate, and actually the finisher's down to 11 seconds, so it's going to be a tough position to defend. Oof, that just must be a waste of time. Just everything tells me that's a waste of time. There must be something more direct. He's raising a check. Is this really? Okay, again, he manages to use up the pawn, which could have been used for attack, so quite clever. Rook takes g2 is a threat. Knight takes g2 must probably be done to keep up the attack. It's not done, though. I don't... Okay, with 5 seconds. Okay, the finisher's low on time. He has to really prove himself this game. Knights are going to be nasty because a knight could pick up a rook for free. So this is tempting, but then this. So what does he do? The knight's got no squares. That's why he's thinking. That's why he's got a complete drain. It's like finding a good move is hard. You just want diagonals. Yeah, that's interesting. Even refusing the free piece because he doesn't want to weaken his stuff around his king. Okay, he doesn't want to give a knight. Rook takes knight ideas would be knight and pawn mate. So he quickly takes the knight, which is threatening mate. Okay, counterattack. Oh, this has definitely been like the most complex and interesting game, and I really can't tell who's going to win. No mate threat immediately, but this was the threat, promoting. Oh, king is going to have to run here, but then queen here is checkmate, so he has to run the other way, and he's just defended on e7 by knight and bishop, and he's just walked into this dangerous queen and rook file. Ouch! Queen comes here if you take. I'm not sure actually. Yeah, here and here is surely okay. Bishop defends. Promote. Promote. Oh! That was lovely. Yes, that was very nice. I was thinking promote and drop here, but yeah, that was really nice. 2-knight mate. Okay, that was a spectacular game from ArtOfDeception to get onto the scoreboard. Okay, so we have another Scandi-like position, sort of delayed. It's a kind of delayed Scandi kind of thing. So you go knight f6 first, and then you go Scandi. And ArtOfDeception's in the tank. He spent 30 seconds on move 6 only. Because it didn't work out so well the first time with this knight. Yeah, we're saying this again. Knight here, threatening this. This is a slightly different setup. You just go straight back, which seems good. Although I'm sure the finisher knows what to do next, whatever that might be. I mean, the most natural move is just this. Like, how are you defending? Probably have to block with a pawn. So I think he only needs 8. But that's true, the king switcher match is not counting. Might change things. Oh yes, so if king switcher does play, then it's a beat up king switcher battle between everyone. That's actually going to be quite tough for king switcher. Everyone has to battle to beat him by as much as possible, um, to get to come as high as possible in the prizes. Interesting. So we did see this, but we didn't see a pawn drop. Instead, we saw a check. And rerouting the bishop to defend, which makes sense. But then you see this move, and uh-oh. But nice resource, nice resource. I hitting the bishop, and suddenly, So you're going to have to move that bishop. I guess just moving it is fine. Even moving it here might be fine. Takes, takes. This is fine, right? And then you have pawn takes pawn coming, and you're building your chain again. Oh, this is really nice because you could take, and then drop again on e6. You're building into the position. Okay, but again, a nice resource again. He's threatening knight at c2 check, and again, I think that can't be ignored. And so, so just when I thought everything was looking very nice for the finisher, I'm not so sure. So this, and I expected at this point this to come, and this, and this. That was my expectation. And the queen maybe would be a bit out of the game on h3. And of course, queen takes rook, knight takes, and some pawn drop here, or back rank ideas were also an idea. But I thought queen takes g2 would come, but instead this, then this, and suddenly there's no queen takes g2 anymore. And he's winning this pawn, and black doesn't even have a pawn for d2, and what? Okay, he's winning a knight, but oh, I see. That's actually really annoying because he's threatening queen takes bishop next. So it's a nice little sequence. I thought here black would just grab this pawn, but maybe there's no nice continuation. So this, hitting the knight. He takes the pawn, but now the bishop's under attack. So white's just had to solidify, and queen takes pawn is still coming. So pawn takes pawn, and again, why doesn't he take this pawn? There's a mate threat? Is there something nasty coming with knight e6? Okay, instead he defends. Yeah, he defends d6. Knight d6. Sorry, he defends d6. But did he need to? I really wonder. Queen takes pawn looked quite scary, but I guess knight d6 and then rook c1 was the plan, something like this. So he doesn't like that idea of that. So he tries to defend d6 and then white castles, nonchalantly castles, and black doesn't have quite enough material to just go all out on g2. And suddenly we thought the knight was defending d6, and it's just like, nah, I'm gonna just grab a pawn and go after your queen. Like, if you wanted to grab a pawn, why not grab b2? A little bit. And knight d6 doesn't even come. But another move comes, stopping the king from castling, because obviously bishop takes h7 would be crush. It looks crushing. Bishops are just pointing at this castled king, so it's just saying you can't castle, maybe? Somehow it just feels too patient from the finisher. Far too patient. Okay, knight d6 comes eventually. How to continue? Bishop takes pawn is tempting with ideas of stuff like, oh, you've got to be careful here. There's always queen takes g2 ideas. Queen takes g2 comes, and you can't step back because there was knight takes pawn. Check, knight back, and so on. But this might be getting mated. Knight here, check. Oh yeah, so this queen is covering everything. So there's no knight here, check. Knight here, check, maybe. But then there's no continuation. King takes knight, the knight actually defends. So surprisingly safe in only 2 seconds. It's a scary position to play, with bishop takes g7 coming and so on. And ArtOfDeception loses on time. Very hard position. He was tempted to the queen sack, but the finisher had played it safe and knew what he was doing. Okay, so we've got slightly different move order here with playing the way I play. I think with knight f6, and we're getting a kind of French kind of setup after this. Okay, so just Dancing Rockstar, you're too kind. And Harry XL says, have you ever played Clearcast? Yes, my first 20 games against Clearcast I lost, and only like this week I managed to flag him. So in a 2-0 match. So I got my first win against Clearcast. But it's not one I'm proud of, because I consider chess not to be a flagging game, but an actual game of chess. Or Crazyhouse, whatever it is. So yes, I'm something like 121 against Clearcast now. I mean, just for comparison, against the finisher, I am... It loads up. Unfortunately, I've got slow internet, so... I am 2-7 against the finisher, that's surprising. And I'm 110 against ArtOfDeception. It must be the finisher was berserking me or something. So 5-1 to the finisher. And from what Duvid said, he needs 8.5 to be secure. I thought 8 might be enough, but I haven't looked more closely at the King Switcher match, in case that gets zeroed out. Now, I'm just completely baffled how the finisher can be thinking for a minute in this position. Like, this is it. Just move 6. Okay, this is interesting, trying to stop these lines. Okay, so he obviously knows what he's doing. And then he thought for a minute to play bishop g4. Why? And now he's thinking another. He's going to run short on time this game, and I don't know why. And he's just also just got himself into trouble because now his knight doesn't, because f3 is being played. Now his knight doesn't have a square to go to. Okay, he could do this and this at some point, but and if the knight doesn't have a square to go to, he can't push the e pawn. And if he can't push the e pawn, how is he going to develop this bishop, the dark squared bishop? So and so why was it earlier fine to go knight e4? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but if f3 ever comes, you can always just exchange off. So and then you can go e6. So okay, so there could be some deep theoretical reason why this is completely fine, but it just felt like he, and that's something which I wouldn't be aware of. But here he's just given up the knight for a pawn and no positional benefit. So normally you have these doubled f pawns, which really help control the center. Whereas here, black's got no positional benefit. He's down on development. He's just got a knight staring down on f6. He's got a bishop staring down on h6. This is a dream position for white, basically. Only slight benefit he has is he has the extra pawn in hand. Okay. Oh, and that's a nice move, h5. No, oh my goodness! This is suddenly turning the position around. So h5. So he doesn't even use a pawn in hand to do this, and takes, and he's looks like he's thinking of picking up well, getting his piece back basically. So okay, he's made some progress, getting a piece back, and suddenly the f3 is not looking such a smart move because the dark squares around the king are weak. And Druha says flagging Clearcast is also impressive. Yeah, so for people interested in the final will be commentated by Yasser Seirawan, Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan, along with Jan Lee, the 2017 Crazyhouse World Champion, and it will be on the 22nd, the 28th, and the 30th. It's in 3 parts. So 3 sets of 20 games of 3+2 Crazyhouse. It will be at 9 p.m. Is it 9 p.m. or is it 8 p.m.? Maybe 9 p.m. European time, so 8 p.m. UTC, 8 p.m. GMT. So that's something to look forward to. I think it's the 22nd, 28th, and 30th. And if you're interested in when anything is, and just to keep track of everything, just check out the Crazyhouse blog, and in the right sidebar there's a list of all upcoming Crazyhouse matches, but also Bughouse matches on that blog. So that's a great way to just keep in touch with everything going on. So I was worried about ArtOfDeception's dark squares, but has he managed to fix them? Because he was losing a piece with this move, and he's losing a piece, and his dark squares are still weak. So like a very natural move to do here would just be to back off, takes and takes, but then I guess a pawn still lands on d5 again. But then at least black is using up the pawn. I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not. Because the thing is, if you back off, black could have dropped another pawn, just ignored the knight, just kept on. So probably did the right thing, moving the knight instead. But now he's got a pawn on e3, which is looking really nasty. So he's now just trying to pick it up, and he's sacrificing another piece to pick it up. And it's getting to low time. Queen defends. Bishop threatening discoveries. Nothing obviously dangerous yet, but still. And just a little bit more in hand. So bishop h2 is ideas if you take with the pawn. Bishop h2 and bishop takes g3. That's attack on the queen. You can't take it because of the pin. And you can see how the only piece white has in black's half of the board is this. But here black has knight, pawn, bishop. And he resigns. Why does he resign? What are the pawn and bishop going to do? I'm going to have to open that position up on a mini board just to admire it for a moment. What are the knight? Okay, I see what the problem is. So bishop takes pawn is coming in that final position. Bishop takes pawn. With a pawn and a bishop, he's really working in on those dark squares. Sorry, just keeps on. So bishop takes e3 is coming, and after queen takes e3, you have bishop at d4. But he didn't need the knight drop first. He could have gone straight away for bishop at d3. But probably the knight drop makes it even stronger. And then he has another idea, which is just simply at h3, just simply dropping a pawn at h3 next move. Whatever white does, drop a pawn on h3, take on g2, and just hammer away. And in the meantime, as I said, the only ideas white had was that pawn on e5. But the dark squares are so well defended by black, there's just no way of penetrating. So, two good ideas. I'm not even sure which one you do. Take e3 check and drop on d5, or just go at h3. And knowing the finisher, I think you just go at h3, kind of positional squeeze, and very little white can do to defend. So, back up to this game. We've got another of these delayed scandies. Actually, this is very solid for white. It's a very solid position for white to play. And the problem is, if black keeps his king in the center of the board, then there's going to be a d5 pawn push, which is unpleasant. And if black ever castles, there's going to be at h6 ideas. And that's why this is, this is a mainstream opening, but which I would play myself, but it's why it's quite difficult in a way for black to play, because there are a lot of attacking ideas. Wherever black puts his king, there are too many attacking ideas. And then any attacking ideas on g2, but the knight's already covering g2. So any at h3, even if this pawn had been pushed, could just be takes, and put a pawn on g2. Abhijit says Finn and ArtOfDeception have same styles. Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's something quite similar about their strengths and also their weaknesses. They have the similar strengths and similar weaknesses, and that puts ArtOfDeception at a massive disadvantage. If you're playing against someone who's got the similar strengths and weaknesses as you, but is better, then that's going to hurt. Okay, so can we afford the queen trade? Against a weaker player, you just take the queen and you'd be confident you can win with the extra material. But here you have to be a little bit careful. So there isn't this, but there is knight takes bishop. There's also, oof, yeah, this is dangerous. So I thought just queen takes queen, knight takes queen, grab this pawn. But that's actually could be killing you because of knight at. No, I think it's fine. No, I was thinking of knight at f3, but you have two pieces covering f3, so it's fine. Knight takes bishop is an interesting idea. Notice how the check doesn't work because the knight can just withdraw. But you could, I mean, that's one approach. In fact, I mean, it's always tempting to take the queen because white is getting to use the queen first. It's just a question of can he do something with it. Okay, so a move I hadn't thought of at all. Queen at f4, with the idea of queen takes here, and not sure exactly what the follow-up would be, but it looks strong. Maybe knight takes here, knight takes, queen takes, and then you'd be threatening knight here, checkmate. So that kind of idea. And then, of course, it's a fork of these two pawns. So, okay, you defend that one, but then I come in here. And if only we, and we're still attacking f7 at the end of that. So that was actually a mate threat. It was the threat was queen takes pawn, king here, pawn at c7 mate. And again, white's getting to use the queen first. That's just not right, is it? Okay, yeah, GSVC and TheFinnisher are both gentlemen of the game. They are both very pleasant people, in case anyone had any doubts. Of course, everyone knows this. In fact, that's something actually to be said about Crazyhouse in general. It's actually it's played with a wonderful spirit. Sometimes in chess, there's a lot of drama and quite big egos and stuff, and in Bughouse even more so. So he's allowing at e2 if black had a pawn, but black doesn't have a pawn. And so, okay, so he's having to defend. Well, he didn't have to defend, but he chose to defend. Chose to play it solid from this point. He's backing off, and where's that knight going? It's just going for an attack. But no obvious follow-up? No, just, okay, grabbing material. Now, Bughouse, you can see why it lends itself to a slight toxicity, is because there's frustration with your part. There's often frustration with one's partner if you don't succeed. Like, did you lose because it was your fault or your partner's fault? And people feel let down by their partner. Now, what is this move? What is this move? He wants basically takes. White won't take. I mean, that's the first thing. But if he did take, he wanted knight f3 check. And then maybe he just wanted knight takes f2, something so simple as that. But it just made no sense, that move. And he's going to get mated here. So pawn here will be trouble. Okay, so how to finish? Okay, knight takes pawn, that's understandable. So if you step up, okay, knight here and pawn here is just mating. That was easy. And if you stepped up, that was probably also mating. I mean, if I just open it on the little board for a moment. If you went, but they're probably, I'm wondering if there was a way of him running. Yeah, there was no reason not to step up to h6, was there? I don't know. It's hard for me to remember. So 7-1, 2 games to go. This is the final game as black. Jasugi99 asks, what is needed for third? Well, we think it's 1 point, but then I haven't really checked whether the games with King Switcher are counting. Oh, so neither. Okay, I see. For neither TheFinnisher or ArtOfDeception have played King Switcher, so it is indeed, yeah, just 1 point. So yeah, how badly these two beat King Switcher could be the decider. But if King Switcher doesn't play his games, then 1 more point will seal it for TheFinnisher. Will seal third place for TheFinnisher above GSVC. And yeah, there's no chance of a tie, because in the case where TheFinnisher wins 7.5, GSVC's got better tie breaks. I think. Oh, does he? Actually, maybe he doesn't. I shouldn't really be wasting time looking at this during a match, but GSV tie breaks are 7.5. The finisher's 8. Oh, so the finisher's got better tie breaks. Okay, so in the case of a tie break, actually, someone's been live updating these. This is very confusing. This is very confusing. Someone's live updating these, which actually makes it harder to calculate. So it means 8 would be the final. Okay, so he just needs half a point. Just one draw. Yeah. One draw is all he needs. Yeah. 7.5 is enough. Okay, sorry guys, I've been distracted from the live action. Okay, so we've seen this line before in earlier games. That looks like a finisher move. Queen c4, but it's definitely still. So we're seeing mainline e4 e5 theory, and I think the finisher plays this as white. So basically, the finisher is facing himself as black. Okay, and then instead of, so he gives up a pawn just to get the queen off some dangerous diagonal, I guess. So we saw this line earlier. It's very confusing. Takes. Okay, so we're seeing a slightly different version of things now, with a very early capture. He does capture this knight, and he captures this knight. Takes. And this king looks like it's stuck in the center of the board. So it's not, somehow it's not looking. It's not looking so healthy. And the idea of this is just, oh yes, juicy. Okay, actually it was this, but also it means this is under control. Okay, so he's threatening mate, but the moment his threats stop, he's also got just takes h6 and his king is secure. But there's no time for white to do anything. He's just being pulverized here. Oh, how does he defend even? You can't really defend this and this. I mean, knight takes bishop is mate, and if you defend a bishop, knight takes pawn, bishop takes, knight takes, it's picking up a full queen, and you're not getting mated because black doesn't have a heavy for h8 to kind of start an attack, and knights aren't enough. So it's a complete destruction, this game. So yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. Rook takes queen, wins the queen with check. That can't be a bad idea. But he goes knight takes queen. Feels slightly disappointing. But okay, it actually makes sense. Remember I said rook h8 is basically white's only chance of ever winning this game. So don't give the rook. Yeah, and that's exactly what Jasugi said. Rook e2 looks like it mates, but rook e2 would be the only move that would give white any chance of winning with like rook at h8 kind of ideas. Yeah. So yeah, so because it's keeping check, it probably was a forcing win. So Abhijit says, why does Bughouse have drama and clash of egos? Yeah, I think it always has. Bughouse has always been a little bit toxic in a way like that, because obviously people like to win, but if you're on your own, if you lose, you only have yourself to blame. Whereas with Bughouse, if you lose, you have a partner to blame. So, so some players, I mean, an example would be the player who doesn't want to lose on his board, so he'll, it's very natural in Bughouse to try and it's actually the correct thing to do, is to sack everything to survive yourself. So you should sack your queen in order to survive. Let your partner deal with the queen that the opponent gets. And that's actually the correct way of playing. But you can see how two queens, just queen takes pawn is probably mating. Queen takes pawn and queen here cutting the king off. Or maybe something more direct. But definitely queen takes pawn and queen here will work. And this question is whether something else will work better. Yeah, this as well. So if queen here will just keep him. if king here, queen here is mate, so he has to go king here, but then queen here, king here again, king here, and queen here is mate. So king has to run forwards, but then queen here, king here, pawn here is mate. 8-1. The finisher is guaranteed third, probably. So damn clean, says Jasugi99. High praise from the challenger, who will face Oppa, as I said, on the 22nd of December. So tune in to JannLeeCrazyhouse on Twitch. I'll just drop the link to that for anyone who isn't following that. You all should be following JannLeeCrazyhouse on the 22nd of December, and again on the 28th and 30th will be the final, and he'll be live streaming with Yasser Seirawan. We hope, unless something comes up. That's the plan, at least. And people are even discussing that because of the disqualification with the king switcher, that might actually affect the scores of chicken. It might adversely affect him even. So just this one again. So takes, knight here. This is classic stuff from ArtOfDeception. Ooh, so he sacks his queen and goes at e3. So this is some crazy, interesting theory from... so he doesn't want to take back because bishop here will pick up the knight. So he just moves the queen. Bishop here, check, takes the knight, but he's opened up this square. So some crazy theory from... and so you could wonder, well, does bishop here, knight here do anything? Because if you step back, queen here will be checkmate. But bishop here, maybe king takes knight, bishop takes pawn, king takes... Black doesn't quite have enough material. So instead, bishop here threatening both bishop takes pawn and bishop takes knight looks sensible. But then a very logical defensive move. Okay, now here, queen here takes here as a mate threat. So this is some crazy prep here from black. But Jasugi99 says, isn't this just a win for white? Well, yeah, as if white can defend the threat. I don't know. It looks slightly concerning. You probably want to just develop your own pieces. So knight here. You don't want to go bishop here, I suspect, because queen at c8 could be an issue. It might not be an issue, but bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes, rook. Actually, that's not an issue because you're threatening mate. So bishop here might be a provocative move. Yeah, a very provocative move. And he does it, and I think because you are threatening mate at the end of the day. So then you defend the mate, and then you win the bishop is the idea, and then you're then threatening another mate. So often the same players who play Bughouse also play Crazyhouse, but Crazyhouse is not quite so rushed in a way. Okay, so we've seen this. So bishop takes. Okay, but now he's wasted his queen. He now no longer has the queen for the mate. Oh, I completely missed this. The fact that black only has a queen to block with, or else he had to back off his bishop. Yeah, I completely missed that concept. So now queen takes. Yeah, still a mate threat. So it's still a mate threat, but your bishop's hanging, and I'm not sure if white's improved their position. That's what Jasugi I think Fen messed up. He wanted to go queen takes b7, but realizes it's risky. Yeah, I see. Because black doesn't have the queen to attack, but... So instead, he attacks the bishop and attacks this, but the problem is after bishop takes bishop, there's another mate threat, so you've got no time to even do anything. So he has to defend a second time. You can't even take this bishop ever, because queen here takes here as mate. So, okay, this is a really nice defense, because you're both defending and attacking the knight, but you're not really attacking the knight, because if you ever took the knight, this would be checkmate. So in light of that, what would be a nice move? Why not something like bishop at b2, threatening c3? as long as there's nothing dangerous on your own king, that could be a nice idea. Knowing that your knight is actually completely safe. So probably you'd have to... Okay, he someone doesn't really recognize the fact that... Okay, well maybe he's just going straight in, and maybe he's got something. So a nice move here, by the way, is pawn here, check, and if king takes, bishop at f2, cutting the king off for the rest of the game from running back. He'd have to then move the knight and kind of slide this way. Oh, he's got a bishop. He's got a bishop for f2. Oh, he just... I mean, if this isn't mating, then it's not good. Because bishop at f2 for sure is mating. Because the idea is you go bishop at f2, and then you go like queen f6, pawn here, king here, pawn here, checkmate. Or something like, not necessarily pawn here, but queen here. Oh, but there's queen f2. Maybe queen f2 is strong. Huh. This is looking interesting. So here queen takes knight is an idea. But you could just block though. Oh, why, what? That's just inexplicable. Why would you not go this way? Okay, I'm going to look at the analysis board for this last one. It's not that black wasn't winning, but just a hangmate in one? What am I missing? So at this point, yeah, so black is winning because of... Oof. What on earth is going on? It's really loud. So yeah, king e3, queen takes g5, bishop at f4, knight at d5. Knight at d5. And so it's completely winning. In this position here, was my idea a nice one? At f4, king takes... So this is, yeah, so... King takes e3, so this is a nice little sequence he came up with. Bishop to h6. Bishop to h6, here, takes. So, yeah, so it was actually a nice sequence he came up with. King knight takes g5, although, yeah, queen at f2 is quite a nice way of finishing it. So queen at f2, the idea is that, okay, you can block it, but your king is now forever sealed off, and now we can finish the job. We can finish the job with bishop at e3, king to g4, a4, and if you ever go to a dark square, we're taking your knight. So you go to a light square, and there's nowhere else you could have gone to. I mean, if you went here, just if you'd gone here instead, then yeah, f5. We'll go at f5 is stronger. Yeah, at f5 is much stronger because that way we keep this pawn secure, and I think knight here cutting the king off is mate. Yeah, so that's why you can't go that way. So you go the other way, but then I think this is, you just go pawn here, takes, and then this is a double check, and this is just this all over. King takes g4, and queen here I think is mate. Oh, it's not mate. It's not mate? Yes, it is mate. I'm just second guessing myself because my engine is like 3 seconds slow. Okay, so, but backtracking a second. So back in this position, white's not doing so badly. Just simply knight f3 is fine. But with this move, bishop d7, which I initially said, oh, I don't like this move, but then I looked deeper and I realized actually it's really nice because it provokes queen at c8, queen at d8, takes. But the problem is now you have a double threat, both taking this bishop. and matings. And okay, so you can defend one threat, then you take the other, and you've got another threat, you can block. And then even here, I was thinking bishop at g2, but maybe everything was good. Bishop at g2 is solid. No, it's not. Bishop at g2 is terrible, because white just castles. So this is why I'm not playing these candidates, that's why I'm watching. So the strong moves are bishop at g4, but you could also castle here, but then you have a very open king. Well, okay, if his threat is to castle, then I can see why this is good. But apparently against this, knight takes bishop was strong. So yeah, what's the strong move here? Bishop at g4, bishop at h5, bishop at h4. That's hard to find. Bishop at h3, that's impossible to find. Why would you play bishop at h3? Like that is some computer computer lines for sure. Like you take it and you just want to put a queen on g2 or something, I guess. Oof. Or even bishop takes g2, bishop takes, and you want to go queen at g2. I don't understand what's going on here. Oh, you want to take this pawn. Bishop takes d3, c takes d3. And so we have a pawn. This is like, I do not understand. So you're threatening the bishop and you're threatening the rook. But what was the value of that pawn? I'm not sure. Like, why not just go queen at g2 immediately? Anyway, so that was a really nice game though from ArtOfDeception. Was it prep? If we just quickly look at the opening analysis of that final game. Queen takes h4 has been played by Katask against JannLee. So it's all theory. So this is all theory. Knight takes bishop, queen d3 is still theory, bishop here, takes, king So that was the new move, f takes e3, and it's actually the best move, my goodness. The finisher was still in prep. Bishop at g5, bishop at f2, apparently knight takes f1 is strongest, stopping white from castling ever. Oh, but maybe knight e4 at higher depth. So this is some really, both sides prepping, and then the finisher makes a mistake on move 15, not playing knight f3, which is logical. You save your knight and you defend the mate. So it's a very logical move. But by not playing it and going for this, this is the idea, maybe the more aggressive way of playing things. But knight takes f2. This is coming. And so what? You're winning a rook. The queen is kind of out of play. Difficult to know. So if we just castled here, the idea is he just picks up another knight, and if we just pick up a rook, I mean he's picking up this as well, isn't he? So black's getting a lot of material for that rook. Okay, so hope you enjoyed the games. That was the final candidates match, and we can all look forward, as I said, to the final on the 22nd of December and 28th and 29th on JannLee's stream in the evening European time, like roughly 9 p.m. European time, 8 p.m. UTC, I think. I'll double check. And it'll all be on the calendar up on the blog. This video will be up on YouTube as well, and check the blog for the calendar of future events. There's a Bughouse World Championship happening, which everyone is looking forward to some really good matches. We're at the semi-final stage. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. And for that, I should shout out Chuck Moulton, because he's been streaming all the Bughouse World Championship matches. So check him out. Thanks everyone for watching. Should have added congratulations to TheFinnisher for third in the candidates. This is going to be. Let's make this screen a little bit wider. So we see here TheFinnisher in third place with 58.5 points and 8 match wins. GSVC with 58 game points and a fewer number of match wins. So it could all change if GSVC smacks down King Switcher by a greater margin, a margin at least one more than TheFinnisher does. But I'm suspecting these matches will never happen. There's a deadline of something like 12 days, 12 days for all these matches to get played. So, yeah, not sure what will happen there. And also, people make a good point. What will happen to those chicken points against King Switcher if he loses those 9 points for beating King Switcher? He's on 1 fewer match point. And he will be on 57. So the finisher could actually be second. In fact, I would expect that is what happens. So he could be on second. But Jasugi99 on 93.5, you can take away his 9 points. That's not enough. Finisher can't catch Jasugi99. So it looks like the finisher is going to be second to Jasugi99 when you look more closely. Which is really impressive when we saw how this was going throughout the tournament. The Jasugi way in the lead. Chicken played his matches early, so he looked like he was a solid second. Then he played against Jasugi and dropped back a bit. Then GSVC climbed up to third, and it looks like the finisher with this final couple of matches has leapfrogged them into second. So huge congrats if that's the case. That's a fantastic result. And I say the big thing in that is how did he do up against those two? Against Chicken he lost 4-6, but against GSVC he actually won 5.5, 4.5. So yeah, GSVC has his strong play from the finisher, but also GSVC has his rusty day sometimes.